she didn't murder anybody. She suffered from a medical condition.
Defendant, filling out her BMV applications on a regular basis, reports that she has no such issue. Ms. Michaels knowingly drove her vehicle into oncoming traffic to cause serious physical harm. That deadly weapon and that serious physical harm caused the deaths of the Thompson family.
That is just a portion of the arguments from Abby Michaels' murder trial back in June.
So Michaels was accused of intentionally driving the wrong way on the highway in an attempt to take her own life. Ultimately, though, she survived that crash that killed 3 members of a Warren County family.
The defense said that a seizure caused her to lose control, and the judge ultimately found her not guilty on all of the charges she faced. But her trial raised a lot of interesting questions about medical-related crashes.
Yeah, it sparked a deeper investigation into those types of crashes in Ohio, and our Ken Brown has been leading that investigation.
Fox 19 Now Investigates has discovered hundreds, possibly thousands of drivers on Ohio roadways that are putting you, your family, and themselves at risk by not reporting medical issues to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Testimony in court revealed Abby Michaels was one of those people who did not self-report her medical issues. But she's certainly not the only one.
I had a feeling, and I seen it happen before it was happening. I just so happened to just see him swerve. He came out of nowhere. Seeing him like clear as day, just seeing him like slumped over the steering wheel, and he hit us head on like boom.
In May, this Cincinnati father of 4 and his youngest son had their lives changed in an instant. Diamante Williams and his son were working on his grandmother's house when their quick trip back from the store with a rental truck full of supplies took a turn.
I was getting off the Viaduct exit, I was slowing down, and I was driving. And I just seen a man like just slumped over his steering wheel. And it just happened so fast I couldn't move out the way.
Cincinnati police say the driver of the other vehicle suffered a medical emergency.
I definitely was terrified. Like when the crash happened, I just heard my son and I just tended to him. Like I just grabbed him and then I got out the car, and once I got out the car, I seen that the guy was just out of it.
Williams and his son came away with minor injuries, but the driver who hit them died. No one truly knows how many medical-related crashes happen each year. On paper, the number reported is low.
There are a lot of challenges that we encounter on a routine basis to figure out truly what caused that crash.
The Ohio State Highway Patrol tells us determining a crash was caused by a medical issue is difficult.
With medical conditions, it's problematic because if somebody goes to the doctor, they're going to have to provide us with those results because we can't just unilaterally get those results without a search warrant or some sort of probable cause, and we don't always know that that was a medical condition. They don't divulge that to us, they don't share that information, and your medical records are something that there's a high expectation of privacy.
When it comes to a medical episode, knowing truly how many have happened is...
Oh, it's extremely challenging. You know, when we look at the data, I feel confident in saying the data would be underreported because we rely on people being honest with us, and the cold reality is not everybody's honest with us all the time.
Despite those challenges, we know medical-related crashes have caused injuries and even taken lives. In 2020, the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office reported a driver crossing the median on Interstate 275 after suffering a medical episode. That driver caused a 5-car accident, and everyone involved in the crash are still in the midst of a civil lawsuit 3 years later. In 2019, there was Abby Michaels' crash that killed Timmy, Karen, and Tessa Thompson. Michaels was on trial for murder and was found not guilty. The defense asserted Michaels had a seizure behind the wheel. The prosecution said she was reckless in failing to report her history of issues to the BMV. The BMV asks 3 medically relevant questions. One is about alcohol or drug dependency. The other 2 ask about physical or mental conditions that affect your ability to drive. The BMV says of nearly 3.5 million applications or renewals last year, only 865 people self-reported
Oh, that's a dramatic underreporting of the problems that people have, and I would say that's largely in part because they're afraid of losing that right, that privilege to operate a motor vehicle. But they're not looking at it through the proper lens. They got to look at it through that lens of that traffic safety as that shared responsibility for all of us. Without that, it's a very selfish view of it.
Been doing epilepsy management for over 25 years. I've had a number of individuals that unfortunately have had a seizure-related crash.
Dr. David Ficker with UC's Gardner Neuroscience Institute agrees the number of people self-reporting medical issues across the state is low.
Particularly if you're looking just at epilepsy and the prevalence of epilepsy, 1 to 2% of the population, that translates into a much higher number of patients that should be reporting to the BMV that they've had this history of seizures or epilepsy.
Dr. Ficker says UC alone saw 5,000 patients last year who are faced with epilepsy, nearly 6 times the number of people who self-reported medical issues statewide. And that's just one of the many issues that could impair a person's ability to drive a car.
I'm all for that right and that privilege to operate a motor vehicle, but you got to do it safely, and you got to take into account those other motorists on the road, because that one instance, that one medical episode, that one bad decision could have severe ramifications, not only for you, but for other people on the road.
There's a lot of unknowns here. We don't know the medical issue that led to the crash involving Diamante Williams. We don't have an accurate count of medical-related crashes happening each year. We don't know how many people are failing to self-report their medical issues. But Dr. Ficker and the Highway Patrol say the number of people who are reporting is low. The one thing we do know are these crashes are taking lives and hurting people. Coming up at 6, we'll show you what a neighboring state is doing to help curb medical-related crashes. Ken Brown, Fox 19 Now.